when you're sort of battling with something you don't really understand, there's a huge learning curve. So a lot of the initial time is spent just trying to understand what's going on. Because I've got two children, we've got two children. You don't parent them the same. The way we parent our neurotypical daughter is very, very different to the way we parent Alice. That was a huge learning curve because you can't parent them the same way. It doesn't work. And that's hard. People, again, can't understand why it looks like you're letting him get away with things when you're really not.
There are a lot of challenges. Challenges with his development, challenges with his speech, challenges with what our challenges are is how would he go in primary school? Would he be set back in certain situations? For example, if he gets bullied, would he be set back? And then all the work we've done won't be a waste, but it'll be very disappointing because of something that's happened outside of our control. Our biggest challenges are just basically helping Peter becoming a little boy, a 5-year-old little boy that's like every other 5-year-old little boy that wants to just go out there and play and be accepted for who he is, not what he has.
I think one of the hardest things is the fact that he doesn't enjoy people's company. It's I mean, we're social creatures, so it's really hard to see a child just want to be by themselves all the time.
There was probably a period when Peter, the communication wasn't coming, and that was a really, really difficult period. So like between 2.5 and 3.5 was probably the most turbulent year we'd had, because we didn't know what he wanted, how he wanted it, when he wanted it. And that's where the PECs, the picture exchange cards, really helped and encouraged him to sort of make that initiation and that communication when it was something that he really wanted.
I'd like to be able to understand what Dominic's thinking when he's doing his really intense arm flaps. So that's what the hardest thing is. We don't know why. I mean, he could be sitting here happy, zilling, playing with his car, and next thing his arms are going and he's getting really intense now, where before it was sort of just his arms flapping, but now he's sort of twists his hand around, he sort of moves his body and he goes really rigid. So, but when he's really involved in it, you can't get him out. Like you can see him trying to break out of it, and which is probably hard to see.
I think the most challenging thing is actually just all the little things you have to keep on top of. So you have to remember what you're saying. Heidi, because of her sensory needs, she won't eat food that touches. So when I make macaroni and cheese for dinner, there's a bowl of macaroni, there's the cheese sauce, and then there's the vegetables, and she dips them into the cheese sauce, and it's all separate. And I have to remember these things, and if I accidentally make it together, it's a disaster. And having to remember the right toy to go to bed, or that, you know, it's Tuesday, I need this special thing for school because it's Tuesday. And the little things, they kind of build up, and at the end of the week, it's just fall to pieces because I'm exhausted trying to remember it all through the week.
The challenges I've found, even now, though my children are in school, the constant challenges are they're always behind. They're always behind academically, so you're always playing catch up. So it's that constant, okay, what can I do next? How can I teach her to tell the time? How can I try and get her to tie her shoelaces? And there's that you're always pushing. It keeps you awake at night. It keeps you awake at night as to, okay, what can I do now to help my child?
Biggest challenge would be for me, like for my personal challenge, is learning to pick and choose what is really relevant. So I want to pick my battles and not sweat the small stuff and spend my energy on the big stuff.
There's extra financial burdens with special needs children. There's the fact that you ignore your husband more because you're spending so much time focusing on the children and their learning abilities. So it's a lot more harder on a marriage, yes. But we've hung in there.
I guess it's really important that, you know, you make time as a couple, but sometimes it's not always possible. I mean, we're very lucky that, you know, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law are a great support network. Peter has sleepovers there all the time, and so we get respite in that respect. That's not a luxury that a lot of people have in our position. And but it's really important. It's really important that you can just switch off, because I think that just as much as there is risk of Peter being, if you like, over-therapised and having every day sort of being, what therapy do we need to be doing today? I think he needs to have that level of non-structure just as much as we need a relief or a break from, you know, the structured events from the day sometimes, just to let loose and do what we like.
Get as much help as you can. Don't be afraid to ask. There's a lot of support out there, but you have to go and look for it. And you really have to, where we were 10 years ago, or I suppose 6, 7, 8 years ago, I don't think there was that awareness that there is now, and it's much more prominent than it was. But I think the avenues have opened up a little bit to access help, but you really still have to knock down doors, find individuals who will support you, and hang on to them, and but just use every avenue that you've got to get help.
There's struggles. It's not always easy, but it's not always really hard either. There's times where I just go, that's amazing. We're walking down the street during autumn and the leaves are being blown out of the trees, and Heidi goes, the leaves are pouring down, because that's, you know, it just looks like they're being poured down, and that amazing just way of seeing things so differently, and I just love it.